What is going on, everybody? Welcome into a live stream edition of the North End podcast. I'm your host here in the North End, Zach Graham, joined as always by my good buddy, on record as my best friend. It's Ian Michaud, and we call him
E.
Kind of all of a sudden, the roster decisions are out. So appreciate you coming right from that work meeting. I know you may have to jump off here in a little bit because it's the middle of a Friday, but plenty to talk about here. How you feeling? A little bit of a whirlwind the last hour.
I'm good, man. I just saw those comments. Everyone trying to get me laid off again.
Yeah.
Happy to be here, man. Look, the excitement is palpable. I'm ready to roll. Logan's in here. Ari's is in here. Rico, a whole lot of people. Oh, snap. Gmo. Man, you sent out the emergency call. My phone wasn't working for some reason, but we got there, and here we are, and I'm definitely ready to talk about all this money we got.
Yeah. And to be honest, man, I'm sitting here updating the sheets. We'll get to that in a minute. A lot of this, I think, is good news. Some of it is a little surprising. And one of those surprises, I think, is actually, I think, a big hurdle, a big speed bump to the, coming home from the grocery store with all of the ingredients for the feast, as we talked about on Wednesday's episode. And that, I don't think need to disguise it here. That's Alex Ring having an auto trigger on that contract to exercise, him being here at least another year, at least for now, right? Obviously things could change, but that means DP salary. And if we're going, again, he's the DP we can buy down with our targeted allocation money, but that would take up like almost half of your TAM budget for next year. So that's the one that I look at. I'm like, not because I don't like Alex, but it's just from a roster build standpoint.
Yeah, when I read the press release and everything and I saw that, I was instantly just kind of flooded with questions like, at the beginning of the season, we had all the turmoil surrounding Alex. You lose the captain's ban, you lose the starting role, and now you see at the end, he triggered these incentives by play to go get this, which is really confusing to me because it's like we weren't in a position. Obviously, we were in a position where we're fighting as hard as we can to make the playoffs, and we are not getting any sort of positive results. And Alex was, one of our best players the entire season when he was healthy. So it's strange that I don't know if he triggered those incentives very early, what they were, but it just seems odd that at the beginning of the season, you took all this stuff away from him. And then this was still in place and he hit all of those triggers to then get automatically exercised. And yet again, that's the only one where it's just like, from a money standpoint, it's tough. Obviously, everyone is a big Alex Ring fan. Well, maybe not everybody, but most people are a big Alex Ring fan, and we understand what he brings to the team. And we wanted him back on a team-friendly deal. But like you said, opening up those spots, and maybe this is where those second and third windows come into play that Roto has hinted at.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know what those options could have been. I imagine it's just, minutes or games played, but he was out for a significant portion of the season.
It has
significant enough.
Yeah, it couldn't be one goal triggers your automatic, automatic, and it just had to be minutes or games played stuff.
I mean, maybe it's like we screw you so much and it puts you in different positions other than your natural one and all the other things. Like, I don't know, man. Let's pull up the press release here and go through what we just learned in the last hour. That's the wrong press release. I got multiple up here just for some of the discussions we may have. We can get a couple zooms there. So right about exactly an hour ago, Austin FC announcing the contract option decisions on several players. And we have 20 players still under contract. We'll get to the roster spot spreadsheet that we have, the cap space spreadsheet here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, that's the first thing on this release, right? Alex Ring's contract option for 24 automatically exercised due to the player meeting certain benchmarks. And I want to put on the tinfoil hat here just for a second, because I know that they're separating these kind of into categories, right? You've got the contract options exercise for Loss and Danny. Then you've got the players who are under contract next season. the players who are on loan and the players who got declined. So it's probably just because Alex is in his own category here with the auto exercise on his contract, but putting that first and like making sure they're like, hey, it's because he met these benchmarks and not because we are actually choosing to. You know, I feel like maybe they put that first for a reason, to be like, hey, wasn't all our decision here.
I'm not sure there. Yeah, again, I just want to know what the benchmarks were.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we probably won't know. And again, my only complaint for this is what it means on our cap sheet, not because we're bringing number 8 back. I very much like. I mean, we were better, hands down, with him on the pitch in almost any position this year. So I guess, you know, we'll see. This doesn't mean that he starts the season or even plays again for us, right? There could be a trade. There could be a buyout. I don't think the buyout is super likely on Alex, but buying him down with Tam, again, if we're looking to bring in another DP, that is what has to happen now outside of trading or buying out Emmy.
When does Emmy come off the books?
Next year, but we've got 2 options on him, and now I'm thinking about what these options is like. Who's got performance clauses in there?
Right? Is it a DP? Is it like a DP level thing there where it's like we're going to put some performance clauses in here? I guess. All right, let's leave aside the fact that from a budgetary standpoint, this is not what we were really looking for. But talk about Ari's point there, where Alex was a stalwart for us. He has been the entire time he's been here. So if we look at it from a standpoint where it's like we still wanted to be able to compete in these next coming up windows and everything like that, we still want to be a solid team, and he makes us a better team. And even from what we learned with his interaction with Danny and helping these younger guys along, it's a very beneficial thing. So I can't be too upset about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like you said, we were preparing the stomachs for a feast. And now, we've missed out on an appetizer, but again, man, then you get Damian there, and Danny, you love that. That's future building stuff, guys, that we really want to have in this program. Like, man, it's exciting.
Yeah. And Lobar in here saying the benchmarks could have been over the length of the contract, not just this past season. I don't know about that. That's certainly an interesting idea. And would maybe explain more of that. So yeah, that's a good shout there. Again, it's just like, I just feel that dagger. I was treating this like we had a DP spot open, because I did not expect that contract to be picked up. The perfect world, we were re-signing him for less than the max budget charge, and he was going to stick around and continue to do all the great things that we know Alex Ring brings to the club. So that's the first part of this, right? Anything else for you on that?
No.
Yeah, and again, we could, like, that was the rumor. Nobody who I would say is like super credible in the MLS space reported on that rumor, but that was the whisper, right? That they were going to potentially make some sweeping changes, not just with adding a 4th designated player, but maybe hiking that salary cap up, which would be really weird because the CBA is already through I believe January 2028, and they've got the salaries mapped out, right? Or the salary cap plan mapped out for the league. So, and that would be coming soon. Like, league meetings have to be in December because training camp's in January.
Yeah, and I mean, I was also just thinking about potentially having that 4th DP spot made available, and that's why these certain benchmarks were put into place with Alex's contract. But that doesn't make any sense, because unless that idea that a 4th DP was coming when we were negotiating Alex's contract originally was in place, and then it wouldn't have made sense to like plan it that far out and ahead. So yeah, I hopefully we can get a 4th DP spot. That'd be sweet, I think, for the league entirely. But again, I'm not holding my breath for that. Yeah.
So picking up, unsurprising here, I think these were the 2 guys we said were, if they had options. We knew Damian had one until like 10 days ago. We were unsure about Danny. So seeing those guys back, especially Danny, like, he's going onto the senior roster now, so he's going to count against the cap. But to our understanding of how these MLS contracts work, it should be $118,000 and some change to the cap hit there. So he would be our cheapest senior roster player as of now. So that's great business. And again, if like Football Critic, I believe, was the one who said he has heard there are 2 option years on Danny's contract. To me, again, just from taking the human side out of it, because I think everybody can agree that Danny deserves more than 118K next season if he's here. That's just good team building, right? Let him play this year on the contract that he signed, right? And we'll reassess after this year if there's that second option.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of like being Danny, and if you're the lowest paid dude on the senior roster and you're contributing as much as you can contribute, it creates a little tension. Sure. Like you said, the contract he signed, but again, from the book standpoint, looking at this with the accountant glasses on, that's the best contract we have by a mile.
Well, and that's kind of the benefit of drafting and developing well, which I'm not saying we have done, but Danny is the shining example we have to put forth. And like, that's the benefit we get now as a club is cheap Danny, who deserves to be paid 3, 4, 5, 6 times more than he is.
And eventually cheap Damian, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, still, it is 0 cap hit Damian at this point. Same with Owen and CJ. So additional players remaining under contract next season: Bersano, Cascante, Gite, Seba, Ethan Finley, of course, on the new deal, CJ, Johnny G, Hedges, Kolmanic, Nick Lima, who we think is out soon, but still, again, they have to say because he's still under contract here. Emmy, Alex Ring, Johan Romagna, Stuve, Leo, Johan Valencia, Owen, and G. And then they, put in there Gite on loan till the summer, Turkish second division, and then Romagna. I want to know what the hell's up with his contract, because if we don't, do we not have a loan on, or not a loan, an option on him? Clearly we don't. And so Romagna was the guy that got the longest contract from Claudio before 2021. It's just like one more, just like F you from Claudio to all of us.
Man, that date is fast approaching here where he's got to come back. So that is, again, we got to get him out on loan. I want to see the kid do well. It's just not here. He's got to be loaned out. We got to find some place. Everyone's working today, huh?
Yeah.
Perfect. He's got to get loaned out. I don't see how the club hasn't been working on that, hasn't been finding a place to go send him this entire time. And then with Musa, we have until that summer window there.
Yeah.
But still, you got to loan him out again, because again, especially now with the Alex news, we're not working with as much as we initially anticipated we would be.
Yeah. Well, here's Phoenix in here. Good to see Phoenix. He heard that Romagna going back on loan to Olympia. So that's not what Romagna would like us to believe, given his Instagram posting over the last month. And I think maybe communicating with a couple people in our Austin space as well. But that would be perfect, right? Because if he's comfortable there, they want him back on a loan and we can get him out of here. For I think both of us, right, kind of in lockstep, there's just not – you wore out your welcome here, and that's why you got loaned out in the first place. You broke that trust with the coaching staff and the team coming in 3 years in a row out of shape.
Yeah, we've beaten that horse to death, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, we have. So declining the contract options of 9 players, and a lot of these expected, and I think stop me if these were unexpected for you: Charlie Asensio, Will Bruin, Sophie Jafal, Ocampo Chavez, Memo Rodriguez, Maxi Arruti, Rodney Redis, Adam Lundqvist, Kip Keller. Not stopping me at all there.
Well, you went out of order.
I know. I was trying to see where the line was.
I was waiting for you to get to Kip. Well, obviously, I was shocked. Yeah, that they. But then again, you look at it. Can you be too shocked after what happened and the season that he had? And I know that we wanted to develop him, or at least you very much wanted to develop him. Again, it didn't work out. I guess if there's no minutes for Romagna, it's hard to say that there's developmental minutes here for Kip either.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then you look at Memo. Again, I was on record that I said I would like to see what we could have gotten from him. It doesn't seem that the money was right and that he wasn't part of our plan. and I'm still okay with that. AOC, the writing kind of went up on the wall with the emergence of Pinot up front for the FC2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, all to be expected. This next line is quite interesting. We're never going to get rid of Hector Jimenez.
Well, man, shout out to Mike, who on Soontar a couple weeks ago had me literally just laughing by myself walking the dog when he said that we have to bring Hector back as a coach because then his coaching jacket would say HJ. I thought that was pretty good. Ocampo Chavez, like, you reference Sebas for FC2, right? That's just, we can't hold on to guys like Asensio and AOC because they're taking up those first team roster spots. Like, those supplemental guys have to be guys that we can rely on in a pinch to be put on the pitch, in my opinion, for the first team. Like, that's how you see some of these top teams, especially those working more on a budget, right? Leaning more into like Philadelphia than an LAFC. And that's kind of right. Roto not so subtly hinted at like Philly as being the model that he wants to follow here in terms of building the roster. So those guys just, and we've talked about it before, they just don't fit the profile for what we need out of those supplemental spots, right? I think the guys who are left, Owen, CJ, Damian, very much like those are like top tier guys that you could have on those supplemental spots.
That's a good point.
And Kip Keller, man, like, I guess the only reason I just wanted to see that out is he doesn't count against the cap for another year. But there's so much behind the scenes that we don't know. We talk about this with players all the time. Like, maybe Kip is kind of a shithead in practice. I'm not making that accusation, but there's like those type of personnel relationships that go on behind the scenes that the average fan, including you and I, just have no idea about. That's the only thing I can really come up with. Or he's just like that bad that they see no reason. Roto sees no reason to keep him around with no cap hit. Again, he had another year without counting against the salary cap. You basically keep him for free.
I just think it's a Romagna situation again. There's no there's no time for you, man. Like, I would be shocked if he was a shitty dude in practice or behind the closed doors or whatever. I purely think it's a performance thing.
Okay.
And obviously we had the disastrous turnover in the first game of the season, and that kind of set the tone for his whole year. And mentally he struggled. And unfortunately, this is a cutthroat kind of business. And if you're not out there putting something putting something positive out there for the club, it's tough to keep you around, even if you're a great guy. So while I am still pretty, shocked at the Kip thing, I don't see why. I don't see why we can't just come to the same conclusion that it's like there's no time here for you, man. We can't risk it. Like, we're not good enough to have you out there and be giving up goals or making mistakes that lead to goals. And we talked about him, in depth throughout the season, throughout his games, his highs, his lows, where it's like it was almost like once a night where he was getting away with murder on a bad turnover or a bad read. And it's like eventually that bites you in the butt. And if you're not talented enough to make up for that, it's tough to keep you around. So, I mean, I absolutely wish Kippy well. I hope he finds land somewhere that wants him and he can develop more. There's just no time for you here, man. We're trying to put together a club, a squad, something legitimate. So, tough one. We knew it was going to be a lot of tough goodbyes, some surprises here, but it is what it is.
I think you're probably closer to the truth than I just wanted to bring that up. That's always a possibility, right? That there's just things from a personal standpoint, your personality that can get in the way sometimes that we just don't always see. But I think
the better you are, the more you can get away with
it. 100%, 100%. And I think, you make a great point about if we don't see time for Romagna here that we're confident in, right? There's no minutes. We said that on Wednesday. Then I think your argument that the same goes for Kip is absolutely on point. And with the fifth pick, we can go get another GA center back here if we want to, probably next month.
A good point.
Adam Lundqvist. right? We just traded for him last offseason. And we gave Houston $300K in GAM in 2023 GAM and $200K in 2024 GAM. So what I want to know is, are we still on the hook for that $200K GAM this year for a guy who's no longer on our team? I think probably so.
I would assume so.
Just again, pointing to the fact, and this was in January, so this falls on the Rubio Wolf front office rather than Claudio. And just another point in the favor of why we needed to bring somebody in, Roto or not, because those guys just weren't it, between the overpays on the contract extensions and trades like this.
Yeah.
The guy didn't even. We were happy with him 2, maybe 3 times, and there was just as many times we came on the pod and you were like, I'm done with this guy.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I was going to point to there was that this was a Wolf Rubio situation, and clearly like a Band-Aid kind of trade that we made to hopefully be able to survive another day with the injuries that were mounting up and the lack of production that we were seeing out there on the pitch. I also would assume that we're on the hook for that 24 allocation money with Lundqvist. And yeah, that's a bad deal. And that's like, there's been quite a few of those. And some of them seem to be made out of not necessarily necessity, but were more based upon the current situation that we were in, where we're coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance. And now we are sitting near the bottom of the table and we're trying to make some positive moves to get some good momentum going here. And Lundqvist never panned out. I don't even really understand what they expected from him. It's like, there it is. And like, I don't understand what they expected from him. I don't think that we put him in a position to succeed with this club in whatever capacity that is for Adam Lundqvist. So, I'm happy to see him gone. That's one where it was like, I'm not shocked.
I know you are.
That he's gone. Because it's like, look, right? It almost seemed like it was a Zani, like a prototype of a Zahn kind of player. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like left-footed, can get some sweeping crosses in there. Very limited defensively, not a very great athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like it doesn't make any sense. And now that Zahn's going to be coming back, it's like that they overlap entirely with the upcoming Lima move and where we can potentially shift Johnny then after we get whatever back that we're looking for after moving on from Nicky. There's no room for Lundqvist either, and I'm more than happy about that.
Yeah. Let's get to some of the comments here before we jump into the spreadsheets, and then we'll get you on your way, E. And again, if you are watching on the Twitter feed, can't see those comments. So if you want to comment, come on over to the YouTube channel. Just scrolling up to see where I left off. Let's see. In a perfect world from Logar, where visa issues don't exist and his family could be by his side, would we welcome Gite back for the second half of the season and beyond if he's willing to play here? What do you think about that, E?
No.
Yeah.
I love Musa. I was very excited when we got him. I was
one of your favorite players.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of him. And again, I just feel like it's the same type of situation. Part of my naivety with, soccer and evaluating talent at this level was on display when I was watching Musa and really getting excited about where we could have him. But looking at it now, and even with the lack of production at the 9 spot, I still don't see time for him here. Again, I think one of those positions, the 9, is something where we can get some sort of veteran from across the way who can come in and be really impactful. I don't know if I necessarily want to develop Musa. He's obviously an unfinished product, a very athletic, strong, fast, physical specimen, but he's lacking in the areas that we need a 9 to be good in. Clinical finishing, you know what I mean? His hold-up play was solid, but still we need a little more from him in the air as well if he was going to come back, particularly if we're going to run back this, crossing style of getting the ball into the box that way. And, you saw with G, it didn't pan out throughout the entire course of the season, although he was hot. So that's a no for me.
Yeah, and I think, to me, it's just all the reasons you mentioned. We love Musa, and, I'm not saying he couldn't play for us or that he wouldn't be, okay in a role, but where our striker position is at now, it's just Jossie, right? I think in an ideal world, we're bringing in either like we get a DP spot open and I would want a 9 or a true 10, right? And then figure out where to move Driussi around that player. So like, is he going to come in and start over G? That doesn't get me excited. And then he's not your second string, right? Like he's not going to be, I wouldn't think, over Zardes. Like I don't think he's done anything to prove that he would be better there.
Yeah.
And so if he comes back and wants to be the third string striker again for 6 months, all right. But it just, again, it feels more like part of the past that we're trying to leave behind.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, and his family situation, the visa situation, is all just complications that add to his whole story here. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think that's a no for me.
Yeah, we see Phoenix and the Guanabana in here saying, yeah, Kippy's strange in person a little bit. Maybe just a little socially awkward. I've gotten that vibe from him a little bit. But again, I don't know the kid, so it's just me speculating. Lobar in here saying, curious to see if Kippy, Charlie, and AOC sign contracts with FC2 directly. Potentially, I think Kippy is the most I think Charlie is going to USL as he should. He had success with Charleston on loan a year and a half ago, and I think Kip ends up with another MLS team, maybe on senior or reserve minimum, so he can be a supplemental spot. And like, knowing where he comes from, what if he's in St. Louis next year? Maybe.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when I said, I wish him well. I hope he ends up somewhere. I could definitely see him in that type of supplemental role, not counting against the cap, and you're working with the kid. I didn't know he was unique.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, can't think of any positive. Yeah, Lundqvist gassed after 25 minutes. E knows about that. Vanella's been sitting in 123 too long.
Yeah, that's a direct quote.
Yeah. Ben says he traded Lundqvist on FIFA too. That's what he's doing. ATX history in here saying maybe Captain Joe signs for the first team as depth. He can play center back and right back. To me, I think he's more of like that fullback depth at the MLS level. Again, amateur fucking analyst here. I just think he's too small to play center back at the first division level, because we know like Next Pro is like third division basically. I don't think officially it's that, but like it's MLS, USL, and then Next Pro, right? Like I feel like that's really fair to say.
I think that's fair. But I mean, again, even in the minutes where we saw AP Mike, even in the minutes we saw Captain Joe with Kippy in the FC2 capacity, Captain Joe looked better. Kip came back and we started in FC2 and we started to actually have our worst defensive performances of the season. I'm not attributing all of that to him, but just from a standpoint of looking like a professional soccer player out there, looking like they know what they're doing and feeling confident in it, Captain Joe was there.
Right. I think Ari's is
25.
Yeah, I think he'll be 26 next year, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. I'll pull it up right here.
Yeah, that, and with the Diego Memo thing, I feel you there.
Yeah, he will turn 26 right at the beginning of the Next Pro season. March 21st is his birthday, so he'll be 26 at the beginning of next year. I think Ari's is spot on here, saying that the Memo trade, Memo in return was kind of the requirement to make all the salaries work. And I think even more so, the evidence that we have at the end of the season of Memo just not being able to get on the pitch when, like, again, he didn't come in and wow us, but he also didn't come in and like, oh, we can't play Memo, right? Like, he's very much a rotational guy in MLS still. It just doesn't fit what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've been talking about the salary cap for a hot minute now, and I was thinking about Memo and like where I was at on him, and it was just like, man, he had some chances to really leave an imprint like on this organization. I go right to the Dallas game. He's got the breakaway there at the end, and he just kind of hesitates on it. And it's like, man, if you could have put that in the back of the net, now we're in love with you after that. So I get that, and I do think that Ari's is spot on there with his assessment and that fact that we just had to make that money work somehow to make the requirements fit.
Yeah. Forgive me, everybody, for 6 seconds of NFL talk between me and E. Burrow out for the year.
Oh,
yeah. Wow. Back to the Verde in black here. Just a couple more comments, then we'll jump into the spreadsheets here. I know Ari's is ready. Phoenix said, who would you rather have on the first team on a supplemental deal, E, Joe, or Mazzaferro? It's a good question.
That's a great question.
Anybody else chime in on that?
Mazzaferro.
I agree. He's younger, true center back.
He's
right?
long. He's larger. He's a little bit more athletic. Captain Joe makes up for a lot of his less than ideal proportions with just really heady, really competitive play. But Mazzaferro is a better long-term prospect for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then we've got some agreement there, and B in here. Good to see one of the North End Pirates around on a Friday. Ready to see some Verde smoke in the coming weeks. I mean, it's been a minute since we had the smoke tweet go out, so I cannot wait for that. All right, let's jump into the spreadsheets here. First, we'll take a look at the vacant roster spots available here. So made some changes while I was waiting on you to get out of that work meeting. We've now got 14 guys locked in on the senior roster. Adding, and I will shout out Ari's because I woke up yesterday after posting the episode Wednesday night, and Ari's already on it saying, "Hey, where's Matt Hedges on your cap sheet?" So added him in there. Really appreciate that shout. Added him to the roster list here as well. Ring and Danny obviously being picked up today. Added Romagna and Gite in there as Yellow's just being on loan. Added Lima just because he is still currently on the roster, but put that little red tint there because we do expect him to be traded. His wife has said as much, right?
Yes.
And then on the supplemental spots, you lose Kip Keller. All the other ones were expected for us, though. And Hector's still in yellow there, apparently negotiating. Like, that's one thing, man. Like, I guess with Hector, I guess he can still do it in practice to a point where he's thinking about being on that supplemental spot again next year.
Yeah.
I just, again, if we played him 45 minutes all year in MLS competition, and his other outing was in the DR, which was just not like, none of that was on him, but it was just that didn't leave a good taste in anybody's mouth. Like, are we really going to use a supplemental spot on a guy who just seemingly can't play? And again, like, I want Hector around the club. Everybody loves him. I believe somebody has said in the past, maybe I'm mistaken, that he has his coaching license. Like, I just don't. I guess they're still trying to figure out. Maybe he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do. Clearly, the club wants him around if we're negotiating something.
I am pretty shocked at this. Like, trying to go out of the way to be like, yeah, we're still negotiating with Hector to try to bring him back. And yeah, even if it is in the supplemental role, it's just like, he must be great in practice. He must and also if you want to coach and stuff, like, go coach then, man. Like, you know, obviously you have an in with this club somehow. Like, we can slot you in the staff somewhere. I mean, you know, he's a great veteran presence. I would assume that he's very good with the younger guys as well, and helping them come along and get acclimated and everything along those lines. But yeah, that is a bit of a head scratcher because, you know, again, you look at what we've turned down with the Brandon Craig deal. Like, you know, we had guys just on the roster who weren't playing at all. Like,
Phoenix says, what if with some of this new cap space we offer Lima a decent contract to get him to stay? He's already under contract, so we would have to, I think, mutually terminate, and he would have to agree to a discount. And again, with like he's gone. Yeah, his wife confirmed it, right? She's not posting multiple Instagram things about we're moving, I'm worried, this and that, unless that's confirmed. To me, it's like, and we talked about it, right? It's what happened with Jared Stroud last year. It's like the trade happens or is agreed to between the two clubs. You just can't make it public until that transfer window opens. It wasn't that in the rules and regulations page.
It was never a contract thing with him, right? We're just moving, like, we're just shipping him to move on from that, or you think it's just?
I believe so. We can move over to the cap sheet here. Lima is on. See, that's one of the we signed him to an extension, but I don't think it was ever announced, and I think it had to be before 21. He's one of the guys. You can see the contract expiration dates here and options, trying to update that to the best of my ability. You know, you see Alex Ring up here now, contract expiration 24. option now just in 25, but Nick Lima is one that I don't have confirmation of. If I've missed that somewhere, somebody please link me. But here's what we've got now, man. And you see that total budget space number is a lot smaller than when we convened on Wednesday afternoon. Now, not all of that will be here, right? If we get Nick Lima out of there, and let's go ahead, we agree that he's going to be traded, right?
Yep.
So let's move him out. So that opens up 375, right? I think we're still on the hook for Romagna and Gite salaries, I think.
Okay.
If they're loaned out, unless that I reading some of these loan press releases, I think they would include language in there to say this team is taking on X amount of their salary or what have you. If somebody else who's tuned in knows, please correct me. I am, as of this morning, putting those guys back on the cap sheet, along with the biggest roadblock here, as I hinted at, Alex Ring coming in with that DP cap hit of, in 2024, $683,000 and some change there. So, yeah, I mean, sitting here with, 2.6 million is certainly not enough.
But it's not close to that 5 million number we were initially looking at for 4.5.
Well, it's so
God.
Yeah.
Romani would be our 8th highest paid player.
Yeah. Is.
Oh, if you're safe, if what you're saying is like that doesn't come off the books with the loan.
God, fuck you, Claudio. That guy sucks, bro.
Brutal.
Yeah, and if you buy down Ring, right, we'd have to use about $1 million of our TAM budget, and we know the TAM budget is what, 2.2, 2.4 next year.
Yeah,
that's just a lot, man.
That is a lot.
So, I gotta think that there is still some sort of something being planned with the designated players. But maybe not. Maybe that is why Roto is in these press conferences talking about we got to be patient 2 or 3 windows, because if the MLS doesn't change any of the rules and we don't see fit to right at this moment buy down, use all that TAM on Alex, and we don't have a buyer for Emmy, and Uncle Tony and crew don't want to spend the money to buy one of those guys out completely, we might be stuck with these 3 DPs. And so that's why I said earlier that felt Ring getting an auto renewal felt like a dagger to me, just from the team building standpoint.
Yeah, I totally. Emmy and Ring can't be 2 DPs in this league, and we aren't going to be a great team. That's why I asked you earlier, when was Emmy coming off the books? Because maybe it synced up with the Alex extension now coming off the books, and we could open up a shitload of money. But yeah, dude, looking at these figures now, it's even tighter, and it definitely took a little bit of the shine off of this for me from yesterday, where I was saying we'd go buy half a team if we wanted to. It's outside of the outlier, kind of like your Romagnas, these strange deals with Musa, these loans. It's the Rigoni and the Ring contract that right now are really just kicking our ass.
Yeah. And, it depends too on what, because as long as Musa stays away from the team, like I said, I think we're on the hook for his cap hit of $200,000, right? We're paying him $600K, but U22 designation, it only counts $200K against our cap. And with Redis gone now, that means the only U22 on the active roster is Jean. And that, again, if you have a full DP lined up, then to me it's worth it. Put the TAM on Alex's contract, get him off the DP tag, and bring in that third full DP. And if not, you got 2 U22 spots to play with. But again, it's the long-term view that Roto is taking here. So Ring being here is just that's the hurdle to having the feast next month.
We might have to delay the feast. I guess I was trying to work on my patience with this whole this whole movement we have going on here with moving on from players and what we're trying to do in regards to our money and who we're bringing in. And I was preaching patience and trying to be good about it. But now I just want to see us spend this money and move on from these contracts that aren't helping us. And shit, man, it may be summer. That could be everyone wants the green smoke. I want some green smoke. I want the green smoke to, reveal an awesome player with a great contract.
I mean, we're going to have plenty. It's just, again, the big splash name, right?
Yeah.
Which we have thought would be the summer anyways. But to me, that like Ring being around on the DP tag, that kills the hope of a big name. What do
you speculate we could be doing with him then? Like, so he has automatically exercised this option. Are we trying to trade him? Like, does anyone have interest?
Nobody's taking that deal.
34-year-old Alex Ring, designated player on $1.6 million.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, right? This is only the known GAM and TAM totals. What we know are our TAM total, right? That's set in stone, can't be traded. But there's no public accounting of GAM around the league. Nor do we know what the performance incentives for like Diego Fagundes to get up to that 900K. You could add 600K to next year's cap if we got that full 900. We already have 300 of it, right? But if you're adding 600K, that's another almost max cap hit player in GAM. So again, that's what makes this tough. We have the bare bones of it, as does anybody else, just because the league isn't transparent with that general allocation money and how it moves around. Couple questions here. Logan says they just got to commit to Ring as the 8 and say, this is our starter. He's earned it. I agree. I think Ring and Danny, to me, is the defensive midfield pairing to start next year. If next year started tomorrow, that's what I would want to see. My complaint is only contract and salary cap based. That's it.
Yeah, the only thing we don't like is that number there. And then, man, that hedges.
Let's say I would again. It's just what you can do with that spot. You can pay somebody whatever you want if that's a full DP spot, and the fact that he's sitting there again. We had to have that TAM DP to have our 3 U22 spots, but now we don't have those U22 spots, right? We've got one guy left.
That's right. That makes it even worse. It's like
exactly.
The DP's taken up, and now we're missing out on a U22 as well. That's not ideal construction.
Yeah. Good question here from Mikey. Who are the next 3 players we most need to get rid of? No need players with lower cap hits like Bersano, or starters like Rigoni. So what do you think there? I think he named 2 names on the opposite ends of the extremes there.
Yeah.
Damian Loss is our number 2. The fact that we're paying, $132,000 on our cap to Matt Bersano to be the 3rd string, it's not as bad as Andrew Tarbell and what we were paying him to be a starter as a backup. But now our backup costs us nothing in Damian, right? And Damian is not going to be, by all accounts, he's not going to be the FC2 keeper next year. He might play a few games, but when we have first team matches, I expect him to be on the bench and be the backup as he was to in the season. So maybe a team can use Matt Bersano as a backup for 132K. Maybe that's a trade we can make. But outside of that, we're not using the buyout on him. So outside of a trade, then Bersano's here.
Yeah, again, if we're looking at this from the standpoint of like how he performed last year and what we would need to like ideally get rid of moving forward, I think those are the 2 names that jump out right away. Obviously, we've talked about Romania and Gite hopefully being loaned out. Again, man, that hedges number it keeps catching my eye, and it's like how many games did we get out of him? 5?
Man, 5, 3.
That number is standing out to me, and it's like, we thought, well, he was sitting there in Toronto, he was getting healthy, and like they were holding him out because they were
6
getting ready.
Appearances, 3 starts.
They were getting ready,
7 minutes
to move on from him, and then we deal with injury issues with him for his time here. And if I got to name 3, gun to my head,
okay.
Rigoni,
Yeah,
Ring, just from the contract standpoint. Like it's ring from the contract standpoint.
So let's say we're getting rid of contracts, not the actual player themselves, right? Just take the name out of it, because I think that's just the best way to look at something like that. Like the easiest way to improve this roster is change Rigoni and Ring into 2 actual designated like above average designated players in this league.
Yes. And then I would probably say Bersano, because again, I'm all in on Damian Loss being the backup and not hitting our cap at all. Yeah. So those are my 3.
So I see there's a couple questions in here that I do want to get to, but Ari says driving audio only mode right now. He said, can we give a TLDR at the end? We'll do it right now, Ari's, on how much space we have. This is including Danny now on the senior roster, including Romagna and Gite's cap hits, which we are expecting the team is still on the hook for. Adding Matt Hedges in, to your credit, the other night, 2.634 million would be the total budget space available if we did not have any more or less GAM available than what each team is allocated this coming year. And again, we're fingers crossed that Diego's did well enough last year or to start this year to give us that extra 600K and other trades for international spot. Like, didn't we trade an international spot like in the middle of the year randomly, something like that? So again, it's like little things like that can tick that number up or down. And 2.6 mil is not nothing.
No.
When you think about guys, that you can get for 3, 4, 5K, or 100K, right, in this league. And we were already discussing yesterday, you and I, doing a mock free agency segment on the next episode. So we have less money to play with in that now. But we'll hit on that next Wednesday. Good to see Mike in here. Sorry, ESO, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Mike in here saying, I think we see a full season from Matt Hedges in 2024. Think that the only reason we didn't see him in every match is he was still carrying a knock when he came over. And if he wasn't, he certainly picked one up, because like if he was healthy, we would have seen him. We saw him as soon as he got healthy. He was out there off the bench as a sub.
Yeah, he's an older guy. He's a veteran. We know that he doesn't have, the spring chicken legs there. But I thought he was just getting healthy the whole time in Toronto when he wasn't playing, and they were just imploding.
Yeah. Well, he came on event like right away and played for us, right? When Ratto went down.
Yeah, that's right.
I think.
And then, I mean, you look at it like where we would be at if Diego was still on these books, right?
1.6 million.
And then you'd be a million less. So I think maybe that could have played into the memo not being re-signed, so we could try to get the maximum amount of money that we opened up for that deal, because we were all, expecting, speculating that it was solely a deal for money. And then Roto comes out, confirms about the salary cap and how much we opened. So I think that might have played a little bit into the memo non-re-sign. But man, that Alex number, because with that Alex number, we're looking at what, 4.3?
No, because he's only he's 683 against the cap next year.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, I was looking at his guaranteed there. So you're looking at 3.3.
Well, again, if you buy Ring down, that takes $1 million off the cap because we have to use all the TAM. So again, that is a fucking dick kick for the upside here. Until we get more news on a potentially what they're gonna do with that spot. And man, like I know, like I'm not really gonna complain, I guess, about that Hedges trade, but like now it's like, again, if we get 80% of what Matt Hedges was his last year in Dallas, I think we're gonna be pretty damn happy with that relative to our center back play over the first 3 years. But that's far from guaranteed. And if we hadn't made, again, we were clamoring for a stopgap at center back. And not only did we make the Hedges move, but we had Brandon Craig in there, the break 125K GAM glass in case of emergency. Luckily, we didn't have to use that. But I think we would feel better if we didn't have Hedges right now, just for the cap space. Again, we need that high level Matt Hedges next year to really make that worth it.
Can you just
Ruben? But I agree outside of that.
Shout out Beasler. What a throwback.
Yeah,
a legend.
Beasler.
Yeah, Same thing with Alex. Good player, solid veteran. Just don't like the figures on it. Just don't like how the money looks here. And like I'm thinking of like, what can you just like renegotiate somebody to not be a DP, keep them around the same salary, or like what is there? I don't understand what we could be potentially doing with Alex behind the scenes, unless we're just committed to this.
Dude, if I don't think we're committed to it. I think it like again, we're putting on the tinfoil hat here. We're getting our fan fiction on. Get your pens out to write this story. If I'm Alex Ring and I just went through what I went through, whatever it was, and again, like some fault could be on him for last offseason, whatever happened between him, the coach, the club, whatever.
He's a spicy boy.
But I'm sitting here now and I just, whatever I did this past season or over the length of my contract, I just locked in another $1.5 million for myself. I'm happy as shit. I'm sitting there just like, well, okay, what are you guys going to do?
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And that's why I said I wouldn't be surprised if when we were negotiating with Alex before I found out that he had this auto exercise, that he wouldn't be like, no, I don't want to take he'd be like, no, I don't want to take a pay cut. This is what I'm going to be making. So yeah, I bet you he's quite happy. I'd be happy. 1.5 mil.
Yeah, 1.64 guaranteed comp there after all the performance bonuses.
Get some glasses.
I have it, it's on this giant screen in front of me. It's about as big as I can make it to keep it all on the screen. David has a good question in here, and we've talked about this on the podcast a little bit over the last 2 weeks. Who is the player that you would use the buyout on? I've been on the record saying I want to save that as long as possible. Just because you can use it in a pinch for an Amro Tariq in the middle of the season. If you find no place to put Musa mid-season when his loan is up in Turkey, you can axe that contract right there.
Romania, just get rid of him.
Yeah, but what if we can again? I know. What if Tony and those guys reach into their pockets and say, we've got $2 million to get Rigoni gone. We've got $1.6 million to get Alex Ring gone or whatever. And again, that's not personnel for me. It's just team building. I want that cap. I want those DP slots because it's the easiest way to improve the roster.
I understand. I just don't think they're going to drop $2 million to buy out.
I agree.
You look at the sheet, you see the cap hit for Musa. He's 200. Romania's 460K. And it's like, wait, I thought he was a U22 as well.
No, that was Redis was the third one.
That's right. I'm sorry. Redis was the third one there because then there's Zani. Okay. For me, I understand wanting to hold on to it. And I think that the Amro Tariq precedent,
the Amro Tariq rule,
the Amro Tariq precedent ruling is not a good one to abide to because it's like we're looking at the worst signing we've ever made.
That means we have an Amro Tariq on the roster.
Exactly. That means there's an Amro Tariq sitting on our roster after we go through this, offseason that we've been told is going to be, good. So if it's right now, we got to do something, buy somebody out, and we're not looking at dropping over $1 million. To me, it's Romania.
What about Zardes?
I love G.
I love him too, but I don't love 800K.
I don't love it either. And especially
Mike's
because
kind of in lockstep here. In terms of who we should get rid of, Romania, Bersano, and any one of the big hits, we're right in lockstep there.
I love Zardes. I love G.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man Hedges prime candidate at least gives us decent open cap. I agree. We have no shortage of contracts that we would be glad to get rid of just from the contract perspective.
Yeah, I totally get that. With G, man, it didn't seem like a great fit for him. And I loved watching him all year. I don't know. I like having him as your second. If he's your two, if he's your second 9, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But again, if we're taking the names out of it and we just put G's stats up versus the cap hit that he is taking up right now, and we remove my personal, fandom of Giassi Zardes out of it, I could see that being somebody that we would want to take out.
It'd be like half the contracts for me. Like if you remove any of my fandom and the names from it, etc. It would be a decent amount of these guys. And yeah, Ulysses Segura was the buyout at the beginning of 2022. I believe in 2021 we didn't exercise it on anybody, if I recall correctly.
I've literally never heard that name.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. He never played for us.
Ulysses Segura?
Injured through the first year, came back in preseason 22, and the club used the buyout on him.
Huh.
Yeah.
Do we know how much he was making?
Segura, it was low. It was
okay.
low.
Okay.
Same with Tarks was like what, No, he was making
$200,000. 250.
I think it was $250,000.
250.
I've got the salary guide right here. Tarek. Is he? Oh, he's gone from the. I would have to go to the.
He's been wiped.
Here we go. 2023 spring. Amro. Where is he at? Oh, is he gone off here? Did they not include both? I don't think they included both. Well, don't teach me to think that the PA is going to be transparent.
From a positive side, you look at that Johnny contract. That's nice. That Danny, that's super nice.
Good point. Let's get some good vibes here.
Yeah, some Owen, that's nice. CJ, that's nice. Damian, that's nice.
I mean, the remaining guys we have on the supplemental
deal,
roster, dude, as the remaining guys on the supplemental roster, that's fantastic.
Yes, that's definitely solid. I can't be upset about the Leo contract right there. Like, he's worth that. Julio, a deserved extension that he got. He played fantastic, and we went to the Western Conference Finals, and I know he had a drop-off this year, but still, I'm okay with that. Obviously, the Stuver contract is great for what he provides this club. Hopefully that Finley number comes in right around there, a little less.
No,
maybe.
Less. Like, what if that's halved? That opens up another $200K. That's another player.
There's just no way they halved it.
You don't think?
No, there's no way. Why would he agree to that?
250. What about 250?
No, it's 300. It's 350 up for sure.
Well, I hope Ethan Finley's agent was not you in the discussion process, the negotiation process here.
You hope he was you?
I hope it was somebody a little bit more club friendly, a little more malleable.
Yeah, I don't think he got 260,000.
I mean, look, man, at the end of the day, we still have Seba. That he's a full DP. The cap hit for Seba, we could pay him $20 million. I don't care. The cap hit's 683. It's whatever the ownership group is willing to shell out there for a guy who is, and again, I got Verde colored glasses on at all times, but I still think Seba is a top 10 player in the league, and I don't think it's an argument.
Absolutely.
So I mean, you need Tom Segura fans out there. Segura's always getting injured from Guillermo there. So there's your stand-up comedy reference.
Oh, man.
The live stream.
This is making me look like we're just going to have to do this all again next window and then get excited again.
Well, I mean, Rigoni is up this time next year. Alex Ring is up unless his shit auto triggers again.
Yeah.
Matt Hedges is up after this year. Johan Valencia, Ethan Finley, John Kolmanich, Bersano. So, I mean, we've got, Musa. There's plenty of cap coming off. And again, that fits the 2 to 3 window timeline that Roto gave us.
Yeah.
But God damn that Alex Ring contract.
Yeah. I mean, excited from the standpoint of we'll be a better team with him next year. Not very excited about the contract and the designation, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, boy. All right, man. Anything else for you? Anything else from anybody still tuned in? Appreciate you guys, setting aside some time here on a Friday afternoon to come BS with us about the latest news about everybody's favorite team. Anything for you?
Only thing I got is love you, D-Gens in here. Love you guys, diving into this spreadsheet. So it's not just Zach and I who have to look at these numbers and be some crazy people. But yeah, it was a good little exercise there. It wasn't everything I was hoping for after that release and our cap breakdown earlier, but still excited, man. There's a lot. There's stuff is coming. The green smoke is coming. Hopefully we can get that splash. And if it's sooner rather than later, great. If we got to wait a little longer, All right.
Yeah.
That's how time works.
Well, again, we've got 6 senior roster spots. At least 4 of them must be filled before the season starts. We've got 7 supplemental spots, not including Hector. One of those is going to be filled by the first round pick at pick 5 in less than a month. So that's something to look forward to as well. Ceiling of Danny, floor of Kip Keller. Yeah, man. We'll keep plugging away here in the off season. We'll be back on Wednesday. Probably going to do our little mock free agency segment. That'll be fun to dive into. And of course, dealing with all of the fallout from today's announcements and everything else that happens in between. We've got guys on the international stage this weekend. Micah tomorrow morning, right? Against France. I'm headed down to San Antonio tonight. Going to go see Wemby for the second time.
Damn, 2 already?
Yeah, well, I saw the preseason one, and I count that.
Okay. Well,
I see the guy in person. Yeah.
It sounds like you just counted it.
Yeah, but the first regular season game, in-season tournament game tonight. So I'm going to see that funky court, City Edition jerseys, and looking forward to it. Got to get a little workout in before we go down to San Antonio. That's
awesome.
Yeah. On our way out, Ben here saying, Rodo says, what do you expect me to do in a year given the shit Claudio left me with? It's fair, man. But again, we shouldn't lower our expectations for what this looks like a year from now because of that, right? We got to give him time. We got to give him these windows. It's the only time he can make moves is a couple months out of the year, and he's got to get it done. And we still have faith in that, right? It's just going to take time.
It's just going to take a little time.
Yeah. Degenerates. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Low Bar. Phoenix, who would be our number 1 target? You got to tune in next Wednesday to see mock free agency segment.
Darlington Nagby.
Yeah. I know you want him. All right, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here. Back on Wednesday with the next episode of the North End Podcast. Enjoy your weekends, everybody. Till then, I'm Zach. Goodbye.
1